Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hiking with me. My name is Bryan, and we're out at Glaston doing the Glaston trig point. This is my 34th trig point, and as each episode goes by, we seem to be finding more and more things. Today, we're going to be looking for benchmarks, trig points, witches' marks, and look at old graveyards, and many, many more different things around this area. In fact, this area is full of interesting historical stuff. So let's get going. Today's adventure starts in the sleepy village of Glaston. Not the festival, no, just off the A47. It's setting off around 10 p.m. in the morning. We're parked by the Old Pheasant, a coaching inn that has been welcoming travellers for centuries. We can practically hear the hooves and the gossip echoes on the cobbles. But before heading off, we're going to make a detour up the lane to St Andrew's Church, a medieval stone gem with its roots dating back to the 12th century. Keep your eyes peeled around the porch, overlapping V's, circles or scorch marks. We probably won't find these, but these are I can't even say it. You know what, I'm going to have to do a lot of editing here. Apotropaic symbols. Don't think we can find any around here. Doesn't matter about all my mistakes, so I'm not looking at it directly. These are apotropaic markings, or superstitious symbols designed to keep witches, spirits, or just bad luck at bay. They're medieval security systems, one part protection, one part quiet hope. I always look for them now. It's become a bit of a ritual, along with benchmarks. We start up in the belfry where St Andrews holds 3 bells, the oldest cast in the early 16th century, each one with its own story to tell. If only you could coax it between the pearls. The church itself dates back to Norman times, with the sturdy pillars and the nave arcade still showing their 12th century craftsmanship. Step outside and the 15th century western tower rises above the Welland Valley, a landmark for miles. Inside the 13th century front has welcomed centuries of Rutlanders into the faith, while Victorian stained glass flooded the chancel with jewelled bright lights. There are whispers of medieval mason marks, scratched dials or two, nothing conclusive but enough to keep the witch mark hunter's curiosity alive. Having a quick look round here, can't see any markings, which is a shame. There's the Old Pheasant. We'll be paying a visit there later on, hopefully if it's open. So we're now leaving Glaston, heading westbound towards Leicester. We're only going to walk along here for about 2 or 3 minutes. Then we're going to be picking up the sign for Bisbrooke. When you get the sign called Bisbrooke, you turn left down here, and this is Glaston Lane. But obviously it's a busy road, so it's just got to wait for the traffic to pass. We head out of Glaston via the road to Bisbrooke, which is the Glaston Road, following gentle, undulating field boundaries. Then at St John the Baptist Church in Bisbrooke, you might see more of them. Not that we've seen any of them yet. And a benchmark here too, but I doubt it because I can't see any records of them. It's a quite covered symbol. So you head down here along Glaston Road towards Glaston Lane towards Bisbrooke. It's a nice quiet lane. You hardly see any vehicles along here, and it's only half a mile away. And before you know it, you're at Bisbrooke. Although downhill, I'm looking up there. It looks like we've got a good hill to go up, haven't we? After going down a nice hill, you end up having to climb up this hill that seems to never end. After climbing that mega steep hill, keeping an eye out for all these markings, you'll see a sign saying church only, no through road. We're going to turn left here. So we're heading down Church Lane now in Bisbrooke. Bisbrooke seems to be a nice quaint little village, a mixture of old and relatively modern houses, but we're not finding any of these symbols yet, which is a shame. But we're just coming up to the church, I think, here on the right hand side. Like again, there's no record here of a benchmark, but we'll have a look anyhow. I've had a look outside St John the Baptist Church looking at the stonework for any signs of the apotropaic markings or the circle witchcraft markings, but we didn't see any. So I'm going to have a quick look around here inside, but I've not found any around here either. Step inside and you'll find a small but charming Victorian organ installed in the late 18th century and still capable of filling the nave with warm, reedy hymns. The church has a 12th century origins with graceful 14th and 15th century additions and a squat west tower that once served as a watchtower over the fields. Then there's the stained glass rich Victorian reds and blues framing biblical scenes in delicate foliage patterns. Just below the 14th century octagonal front has baptised generations of Bisbrooke villagers, linking the living to the long line of souls who passed through these doors. Not one of the most exciting churches. We didn't find any of the Apotropaic markings, but you got to at least have a look. Can't really think of a lot to say, but the church looks a lot older on the outside than it does on the inside. It looks like it's had its character ripped out, made into a modern church, which is a shame, but the outside's lovely. The churchyard has served Bisbrooke for over 800 years, first recorded alongside the medieval church that once stood here. Many graves mark long-established Rutland families, while 19th century memories reflect the Victorian rebuild of St John in 1871. We're now coming to the stretch to Seaton, across the field, what's known as locally as Corpse Way or Copse Way. This was the traditional funeral path where villagers would carry the dead to the mother church. People believed spirits would get confused crossing waters or boundaries, so the route danced across them like a ritual in motion. Somewhere along the Corpseway, I always get the sense we're not walking alone. Could just be the wind in the trees, perfect timing, or something older watching from the hedgerows. I'm sure many years ago, when they used to bring the coffins along here, it was easier going. They wouldn't have had all these overgrown hedges and trees, and that fence definitely wouldn't have been here. But it would have been a nice walk, a good old walk carrying a coffin this far. I think this is also called the Priest Way. After going through several gates and over a bridge, you come to hopefully the last gate before you get to Seaton. Oh well, I knew the around here somewhere, but I didn't actually think it's going to be still existing. But this is the Seaton to Uppingham train line. Obviously it's all been dismantled now, but can't see any tunnels being along here. But would have been nice to actually find something of some interest along here, but not to worry. But we're now going to head over this direction to Seaton. Seem to be finding more and more of these. Looks like the farmer leaves the edge of the field basically for like a wild meadow, having all like the poppies and stuff to encourage the insects. But then I've also read somewhere that they encourage the insects to come here, which prevents all the bad insects being out there. So it sort of look after a certain sort of insect and it looks after your crop. But the footpath is supposed to go through there, but obviously we can't get through there. Well, we could do, but we're not. So we're going to go around the edge. Once you go around the edge of the field, there is a path that takes you through the field. We'll follow through here and we should hopefully see Seaton very soon. Oh well, that's a nice view to see, and I'm sure way back many years ago when the people walking from Bisbrooke to Seaton, that'd be the first thing they'd see would be the steeple of the church. We're just coming into Seaton. This is still the Corpse Way or the Copse Way or the Priest Way. So when you think this has been a good old walk and they just have to carry the coffins from here to there. Don't know why. Also there's a church just there. So as you come into Seaton, got these awkward steps to climb down. Then you turn left. We're now going to head towards the church. Looking out for these Apotropaic signs still. Not had much luck. When I did my research, it's supposed to be dotted all over the place. But a bit like the benchmarks, they're seldom seen round here. This stretch of the walk into Seaton is actually part of the Rutland Round, which one day we'll have to do. I think it's a 68-mile walk. Here's All Hallows Church. So we're doing quite well for churches. This is our third church today. We've got one more to find, but unfortunately, when I say find, churches aren't the hardest thing to find. You can see them from quite a distance, but unfortunately, we've not came across any of the markings. There's a couple of red kite up there. Don't know what it shows on the camera. This is the Church of the Sundial. They say, well, I think it's the right village, but they say that time stands still in Seaton. Whether it's actually the right village or not, I do all the research and I end up putting bits and pieces in the wrong place. But basically say time stands still in Seaton, especially when the sun's not out, because the sundial doesn't work. As you can see, there's no clock faces on the tower, but we're now going to have a look inside. Not too sure what this is. It actually looks like an old coffin. An old wooden coffin. Very interesting. This is All Hallows Church with just one stained glass window. Oh, actually, tell a lie. There's a couple of stained glass windows here. And that's the belfry. Still trying to keep an eye out for all these signs, but not found one yet. It'd be brilliant if we actually heard some church bells, but not heard any at all today. In Seaton, we stop at All Hallows Church where, again, we watch the stones for signs. They say witches were once blamed for storms that took the church roof off, but it was probably just the time and the weather. Still, the story lingers, and I like those lingering tales. There's Mary and little baby Jesus. There's the font. Can't see any signs of anything around there. They're usually hidden around the back, but I'm not going to go around the back of that. Once we leave the church, we pick up the Rutland round again, and we're now going to head towards Morcott, our last church that we're going to visit. We're now passing the George and Dragon pub, which unfortunately we're a little bit too early to go in for a quick pint, which Henry's quite upset about, but we'll be able to stop in at the Old Pheasant Inn at Glaston in about another hour probably, but we're now leaving Seaton. So after a nice brief visit at Seaton, we're leaving out on Main Street. Out in the middle of nowhere, you come across the Harringworth Viaduct, but it's just near Seaton. Hopefully this will zoom in. So there's an amazing feat of Victorian engineering, the Harringworth Viaduct, still in operation to this day. As you can see around here, in the distance, the road's quite undulating around here. We should be coming to the tunnel very shortly, although we can't access this tunnel because I think it's still in use. Just before you get to the bend, you'll see a bridleway sign. You're going to turn left down here. As you head back down the hill, just before you get to the bend, and round here is actually where the tunnel is, but we're not going to go to the tunnel. I think we just head down that way. I'm going to check the map soon, but I'm sure it's that way. Yeah, I can see the sign just there. When you get to the end of the field, it seemed a bit worrying at first because there's a fence there, but just to your left is a gate that Henry spotted. You go through the gate and there's another gate just over there. So now going under a disused train line. I don't know whether we can get on top of it. It looks like we can't get it on. Henry's just found a shortcut through. Don't know if we can get up there or not, but it'd be worthwhile having a little look. But let's go through the tunnel. Nah, I'm not going to struggle all through there. I could give Henry the camera and he could climb up there. Do you want to climb up there, Hen? Give you 50p. Then we carry on through here. Then we'll make our way through these brambles, being careful not to get all scratched up. Just checking I still got my mic. Across this little bridge over this brook. And then I'm not going to go into it again, but through a field of corn. Actually, I just noticed a child there in the field of corn. It's all getting bigger now. This looks like it's ready to be harvested soon. Once we've gone through the field of corn unscathed, and none of the children managed to catch us, we cross over the little bridge, and we're now heading over towards Morcott, and very shortly we should see the windmill. Okay, once you've gone through all the fields, you come back to the A47. Quite a busy road this, so be careful. We've got the windmill just down there, which is too far, but we're going to head down Cockpit Lane. If you're thirsty at this point, there's a garage there where you can stop and get like a little bite to drink or coffee. But we're going to go that way. Once you cross over the A47, you go down the Cockpit and you'll see a sign for a footpath this way. And obviously, like all footpaths, it looks quite hard to get by with all the brambles. So head down here, which is signposted. I don't know, the CPRE. Don't know what the CPRE walk is. And like all the paths around here so far, they've been quite easy to follow, and we should be coming to Morcott very shortly. But just over there in the distance, can't quite see it, is Morcott Windmill. It's not worth going there anymore because it's a private house. I'll probably put an overlay picture on, but it's around there somewhere. We're now coming to Morcott. Hopefully the White Horse Inn is open and we'll probably nip in there for a quick half a pint or something like that. But the Morcott Inn's been standing here for many years and it used to be a coaching house, and people probably travelling from coach horses, travelling from Leicester to Peterborough, used to stop there to change the horses. Don't know how much this is actually true, because the more research I do, the more I find it's not always correct. But Morcott Church has got its own history for grave robbers and all that lot, and basically stealing bodies for scientific and medical research. But the locals used to keep watch because they didn't want their loved ones basically stolen, so they used to keep watch, and eventually that sort of phase died out. Never been through Morcott village before, but it's another quaint village that time's literally forgotten. From the sounds of horses from many centuries ago, you can hear either somebody's motorbike or lawnmower in the background. But again, not finding any of these apotropaic signs, which is a shame. This looks like a Saxon church. It's funny how all the gravestones here are the same, all made of, by the looks of it, granite. There's no slate or marble, all the same. Oh, speak too soon, there's the odd ones there. Oh, this is our fourth church of the day, the Church of St Mary's. Seems to be lacking in stained glass windows. Again, can't find the operific or aperific markings. Probably just, well, so I can't pronounce them. But this looks like an Anglo-Saxon church, nice stonework. Looks like it's been repointed. Once we've left St Mary the Virgin's Church, we head out on Wing Road, and then as you get out towards the far side of it, you'll eventually come to a path to your left hand side, and you go through here, and this will take us back to the car. Well, we're now 7 miles into the walk, and by right we should almost be back at Glaston, but surprise surprise, I think we've still got roughly another mile to go, so it's going to be about 8 miles, which is only 20 minutes on the walk. I probably didn't take into consideration walking around the churches and all that lot. We've not really got lost today, which is a miracle, but we are almost back. It's lovely seeing the rolling hills in the distance. Okay, we're now back onto the A47, and the trig point is just a little bit further down from here. Got to get over this gate first. I'm sure I'll climb over it and Hen will find a little gap through there. So we're going to cross over the A47, and the trig point should be literally the other side of here somewhere. We're now just coming up to our 34th trig point, the Glaston trig point. I'm hoping it's going to be around the side here somewhere, but I've got a horrible feeling it's going to be up there. Hopefully it won't be. That's a good old climb, but I can't see it around here. So I think we might have to climb up there, which is going to be fun. I think it's going to be up an embankment like this, but nothing's ever straightforward. And as usual, Hen will probably be the first one to spot this. So he's like a little mountain goat, and I'm just an old goat. Well, that's handy. It's a bit hard to walk up here, very gnarly and knobbly, but I'm standing straight now, but it's hard to walk on here, but I'm going to get over there now. I'm finding it extremely hard to walk on here without breaking an ankle, so if you do come up here and you want to do this trig point, watch where you walk. Well, that's our 34th trig point. Like I said before, the Glaston trig point. I'm almost there, I'm about to touch it. I've touched it. So as you can see, it's got the OS plate on there. It's got the benchmark on there, 2097. It's in very good condition. The thing is, it's going to be in good condition because nobody would in the right mind to climb up here. It's been a very difficult climb, but as you can see, the views around here, but you can see the old train line down there, and this is on top of the tunnel. And as you can see, the air vent for the tunnel is just there. So the tunnel literally runs under here. I was going to go down and have a look at the tunnel, but that looks a little bit too far away and I can't really be arsed. Set quietly in the field, unassuming but fixed, it doesn't need to shout. That concrete pillar once held theodolites and map out plans. Now it's part of mine. One more trig done. Trig points or triangulation pillars were used to map Britain back in the 1930s. There's over 6,000 of them, once stood across the country, but with care and even ceremony, and now they stand quiet. Mostly forgotten, but not me and a few of us. We like to track these down and basically record them for future prosperity. There's something about these pillars like standing on a thought someone had in 1936 and never quite let go of. We're now going to loop back. We return to Glaston, passing St Andrews once more and stop at the old Pheasant pub. That's the end of our 34th Trig Walk. It's been a very nice walk. We've seen 4 churches, but unfortunately, doing all the research into all the folklore around here, we didn't see any of those apotropaic markings. Didn't even see any benchmarks, which is very unusual. I thought we might have seen a benchmark, but it's been a nice walk, and I hope that with all the things that we didn't actually see, you enjoyed it. And if you liked, please subscribe, and I'll see you again on our next walk. Thank you for watching. Bye.